Hello, everyone. Welcome to a whole new podcast series by Gan.ai. We'll explore the strategies, tactics, and most importantly, the stories behind some of the most successful campaigns with the people who led them. This is an opportunity for all of us to uncover and learn what it takes to build exceptional brands. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started.
All right.
In the grand scheme of things,
Let's kick this off officially. Thank you so much, Chandan, for taking the time out to be a guest on our episode number 1. Really wanted to discuss some very interesting things with you. And let me just start off with one straight question, which is what got you into the brand side of marketing? And for the most part of your career, you haven't done a lot of marketing. So what got you here?
I think it's an interesting question, but before I delve into this question, I'd like to say I am not a guest on this podcast. When it comes to GAN, I feel at home. For me, GAN is home, so I don't feel as a guest, and I'm very happy to be part of this session. So, like I mentioned, I like to phrase my question again and say I'm not a marketer. I will actually change it to I'm not a career marketer, but now I'm a marketer. I spent 4 years at Zomato, and like I mentioned, the first 2.5 years was a sales supply role, and last 1.5 years I was leading brand marketing. It's interesting because growing up, I was always creative, and while at college, also used to do a lot of theater. Dippy, the CEO at Zomato, is my batchmate from college, and I had spent 2.5 years at Zomato, and they were looking for somebody in brand marketing, somebody inside who understands the culture, who's also creative, can take up a big mandate and drive it forward. And that's how I landed brand marketing role at Zomato. And it was obviously a big deal for me because I'd never done marketing. Though education wise, I had done my MBA in marketing, but I'd never done marketing because I had worked 10 years. Most of my career has, so I'm an engineer, then did most of my career post my engineering was into financial trading. I was a financial trader. Then I did my MBA in marketing, and post MBA, most of my roles were sales supply role. So I never did marketing, but when I got that role at Zomato, and if you get to do a brand marketing role at Zomato, and I don't think there's very few things bigger than that. So and that too very close to going public. So handling brand marketing pre-IPO, post-IPO for a company like Zomato, I think I was just pure lucky to be there. And I think that theater that I used to do at college just helped me today. And when somebody says don't do extracurricular, it doesn't take you ahead. I think it just worked out for me beautifully. So yeah, that's my story.
That is fantastic.
I was a theater nerd growing up as well. And I also hopefully will say that I was in the right place at the right time with GAN. So relate to you on many levels. So which brand do you think is currently killing it with their marketing ads? Is there one brand that you go to that you're like, they're just crushing the game?
So obviously killing it is it's subjective. And how I define this is, there are 3 things in my understanding. Killing it means that if your brand hits, so three things that I would say. One is you have to be topical. I think brands that kill marketing today are all topical. Like Zomato is one example. I've seen it from inside. Event happens later, but we start talking about it first. So being topical. You have to hit a lot of nostalgia. And third that I would say is when you take care of finer details. I say they say devil is in the detail. So if I give you some examples of these brands which actually hit these 3 spots, or maybe 2 of these 3. One is obviously the one that is closest to my heart, Zomato. Second, I would say Cred. They hit a lot of nostalgia last year, and hence it's. Nostalgia played a big role. Obviously, their copy, their execution was immense, but the basic insight, hit nostalgia, understand my customer, that, my customers are currently at this age. So what would they talk about? Let's hit nostalgia, and they hit it at the right spot. Amul has always been topical. You know that, every time Amul just kills it, and that shows in their market share, right?
Yeah.
Two other brands that come close to these three brands are Paperboat and Dunzo. Paperboat is topical, hits all the nostalgic notes always. And interestingly, if you actually pick up a packing, that where the Paperboat juice comes in, if you actually invert it, there's a fine print underneath. So that's when I say devil is in the detail. So every of that has something hidden. But see, those things, very few people will read it. But those who do, they fall in love with you immensely. That brand love is, I would say, impregnable.
Right.
Dunzo also does it with its print ads. They have those finer details. In fact, Zomato has done it many times in its print campaigns. There's always a fine copy at the side of it. 0.1% people will read it, but those who do, they will share it, and they will never order from any other food delivery platform ever.
Not that there are many now, but no, absolutely. I think Chandan, you absolutely hit the nail at its head. I think I'm surprised that Tanmay Bhatt did that cred campaign that you're talking about, right? I mean, it's amazing how comedians are getting into the ad space. Like, what do you think about all of that? Like, like someone coming from an absolutely different stream, running advertisements for the biggest B2C companies in India. Like, how cool is that? Or or do you think we need to go back to the basics? Because you also mentioned Amul, for example. So
yeah. So this is what I say, how the future of marketing is going to evolve. See, there have always been brand managers. If you talk about career marketers, traditional marketing companies, FMCG, the mecca of marketing, right? These people, the brand managers, were never creative. They were business leaders, and they would hire a creative agency which will add the creativity to the mix. But brand managers traditionally were only business leaders. They were not required to be creative. I'm not saying they're not creative, but they're not required to be creative. But as we progress, we are seeing a birth of a creative brand manager. And this is an interesting thing, because see how I played a decent role. I won't say big role, but a decent role in building brand for Zomato these 1.5, 2 years. I was not a marketer. I was not a brand manager. I was a business leader, yes, but a creative person. In fact, at Zomato, I personally wrote some of the copies. I personally wrote some of the TV campaigns that went ahead.
Oh wow!
There was always an agency, but there were instances when I would sit in a meeting with a creative agency, and I remember this incident. I'd have to speak in Hindi to make sense. And Kathleen, if you want, I can translate it in English. But the creative guy was saying, "पेट में दर्द हो रहा है." So क्या हुआ? आपके पेट पर, हमारे पेट पर लात क्यों मार रहे हो?
I gotta know.
So I don't know if you understood, Kathleen, but the creative guy was feeling threatened by me suggesting an idea which everybody in the room liked. So yeah, the birth of a creative brand manager is coming up. Most of these new age tech companies, consumer tech companies, they don't have a career marketer leading marketing. They have a creative person who's a business leader, and that reflects in actually the language that we put out.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. And just like how, that is evolving, I think the channels where people are marketing, now are also evolving. So for example, like today I was sitting with my dad and I told him that there are a lot of campaigns that we're doing which has Virat Kohli as the brand ambassador, and we were just doing just like any other father and son, conversation. It was more like we were doing some maths around how much Virat Kohli would be making right now, just with the number of campaigns that he's doing with where Gan is involved. And that conversation was like, my dad was like, but I don't see him that often on television. And I was like, no, television is not where most of his campaigns are. And, that leads me to my next question, which is, where do you think, the channels are headed into 2023? Do you see a new channel popping up? And do you see the weightages changing? Like, where do you see more success across channels now?
So yeah, it depends on what you want to propagate and what is your brand like. There are obviously traditional models, traditional channels like TV, print, outdoor, and there are modern channels which are digital, social media, influencers. So the modern channels are coming up. I still see many of the brands spend a lion's share of their spends on traditional marketing. For example, IPL continues to see more spends on TV. Of this time, it will change with Geo going digital, and I think this time it will change. But IPL has always been TV first.
Yep.
So many of these brands actually put a lot of money on TV, and I feel that they are biased in a way. We sometimes feel that TV has to be done, even if we cannot measure it. I know there are some tools out there which can, give you, a directional metric, but many times we do TV because there's a fear of missing out of not doing TV. In fact, I'll give you an example. I will not name, but there is only one other big food delivery company. They have always been heavy on TV during IPL. Zomato has never been heavy on TV during IPL. And Zomato has never lost market share during IPL.
Very interesting.
So we have to see where we are putting the money, what is the value. I think the big difference is that Zomato during this time didn't have a career marketer and the other company had. So in a way, they always were biased in what they have learned.
Yep. So there's a lot of baggage that comes with
Yes.
like the fact that you have been there for a very long time when TV was the major source, of lead share for you. And so like you've had that FOMO of doing television every single time. And it's just so obvious that you have to do television because, you've done it for the last 20 years of your career. No, that makes complete sense, actually. Now that
there was no digital department,
Yeah.
I remember working in Saatchi & Saatchi and the digital word was just coming into people's vernacular of like, well, what's that? Do we need a whole department for that? Like, surely one person can just do it. And so, yeah, things evolved, things changed.
No, that is so relevant, actually. So I have only started doing sales and sales leadership roles like 5, 6, 7 years back. And so I don't know what used to happen before SaaS. And so like so many other leaders in the market would be, trying to implement stuff that used to work before the SaaS world as their commissions plan and, as their sales processes and only to realize that it doesn't work anymore. While I don't come with any of that baggage. And so I can just come in with a, fresh approach every single time, we're trying to do and try to understand it from, point in time versus historical callbacks that, hey, it used to work when I was at SAP. And so it might just work again, might not happen anymore. So no, that actually is a great advantage of not knowing a lot.
Yeah. Because whenever I operate with a first principle approach that should we be doing this? Should we be spending so much money in just 2 months? And yes, I will acquire a lot of new users, but would they retain so much better that I would spend so much more money? In fact, just spending that money, half the money on digital during that time will give you more mileage. And that's what we operate with. So it all depends on what you're propagating. Like right now, I'm in a B2B company. Going on TV is a strict no for me, right? I would not do that. I would not just go out, that's like getting in a helicopter and throwing out money, right? And assuming that people I want to benefit, want to give this money to, they'll get the money.
True. But, I won't be surprised if B2B companies start adopting a lot of B2C strategies, maybe a few years down the line, at least. We did a rap song just for the fun of it. You don't see a lot of B2B companies doing rap songs. But
did you see that, Chandan? It's amazing.
No, I haven't seen that.
I will send it to
you. It's so fun.
Yeah. So, and I see a lot of people, hiring agencies like Bombay Local to do B2B advertisements. I know a lot of B2B companies that have hired them, spent upwards of $100,000 to, have an advertisement that is only running on YouTube and not even running as a paid ad on YouTube. It's just there on YouTube. And then there's a link to that from their homepage and they use it as their social media strategy. So a lot of spend actually, is influenced by what's going on in the B2C world. By the B2B companies. And sometimes you get that early movers advantage. If you do something like that, you get some, organic traffic your way. But yeah.
Very cool. Good segue into the next topic is, what do you think the future of marketing is going to look like, and how should brands plan to adapt to it? And of course, how do you see AI playing a role in all of this?
I think so. I this last weekend I was telling my daughter about AI because AI is the buzzword today, and I was telling her how this technology is moving. So yeah, everybody's talking about AI, and it's imperative that we start incorporating AI in everything we do, and I mean it, everything we do, or we'll be left behind, right? And when I talk about future of marketing, so like I mentioned, there used to be a brand manager. Uh, uh, 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago, there came, a creative brand manager. And I think now we will have tech savvy creative brand managers. So think of not creative, but create tech. I think that's what is coming. In fact, when I was talking to Gan during one campaign that we did, I was telling that I wanted to do something interesting. I wanted to create a case study, and not from the aspect of just winning an award, but actually making an impact, making a business metric move, like a metric that we care about, not just awareness or brand love, brand preference. Brand preference is again a loose metric that we can always throw around. Anything that has no ROI, you can say, but we build brand preference. Can you measure it? Somewhat. So then that's not pure performance game. So when I'm talking about the tech savvy creative brand manager, companies like Gan will have to help these marketers actually think of the possibilities that are ahead of us. That's something a brand manager who's not that tech savvy will not understand. So I think a lot of education has to happen from you, that goes out to people, and that's what I was, when I was talking to Surat about it. I made sure I wanted to have a session where I said I will bring every possible business decision maker in the room. Why don't you tell me everything that we can do, and we can have a hackathon and say, think of ideas by the end of the day, because marketers don't know what all they can do with generative AI.
Correct.
I think that's your responsibility to tell them, open the world of possibilities.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong point that, like as a marketing leader, you should definitely be concerned about whether this is having a positive ROI impact. Are your business metrics that are most important to you seeing a positive uptick with the help of any new technology that you're using? It shouldn't be just to win an award. And I absolutely second that. In fact, as soon as I came, the first thing that I did was I changed the whole perception of customers from doing it for novelty to doing it because it's table stake. And you will get like conversion rates that were unprecedented. And as soon as we changed that, customers started to look at it from a very different perspective. They were not looking at it anymore from a perspective of, let's do it because it's cool. They were doing it because they will get conversion rates that were unprecedented. Like, in one of the conversations, I don't want to name the brand, but one of the brands that has been using us for a very long time now, I told them that, what I asked them very, 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 very simple question. What happens if, GAN is no longer in the equation? Because they do run a specific campaign every single month on our platform. And they said, what, my conversion rate for this particular, campaign used to be 1.5% click through. We right now at 8% click through. So, my KPI for the year was 1.9. So, if I don't do generative AI now, I'm going back to the world of 1.5 to 1.9, and my boss doesn't remember that. So my boss thinks that, 8% is very easy to achieve, but they don't realize that 8% only happens when the, video says, Virat Kohli has a personalized message for you, or, Salman Khan has a personalized message for you. When those kind of messages are going out is when I have a 8% conversion rate. And so like, it's very, very important for me to continue sending messages from the Virat Kohlis of the world, because, and use generative AI to personalize, whatever can be personalized, like name, etc. So I can, continue to get 8% and make the, GMV uptakes and significant CM1 uptakes in the campaigns that I'm running. So like I was, very pleased that, we're making impact more than just winning that award, or, more than just ticking the box of using AI. And, you're very right. I think AI is everywhere. In fact, I was speaking to my friend who's in the world of AI, and he said this time my tax filing will be done using AI. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I mean, I'll just upload my Form 16 and AI will take care of it. I've already built, a tool for it, and I don't need to like file my taxes anymore. AI will take care of it. I was like, wow, like this is basically practical applications of making your life easier using AI if you actually have the know-how of it. That is amazing. Now I have to ask you about the feature of Tesher and Jason Derulo's Chartbuster music video that you did, the Jalebi Baby song. I think everyone knows about it. It had 300 million views on YouTube, and then Zomato had a feature there. So did you already know it's going to be that big of a hit? Like, how was that even like ideated? I didn't see a lot of brands having features in like international music videos before that, especially like Indian brands featuring in like international music videos. And you got a feature in a music video that got 300 million YouTube views. What was even like going on, while you were planning
I'm
that?
going to take a long answer format for this because this is so
Please.
close to my heart. But I'll give you, let's play a game first. I'll give you two answers. You tell me which one is the correct one. Okay. And then I'll tell you the story behind it. So one answer is that it just happened. We were lucky. It happened. We were at the right place at the right time. And second is our IPO was going to launch the day this song was released. So we paid Tesher and Jason Derulo to do Bhangra for our IPO. Which answer would you buy?
Knowing as much as I know about Zomato, I think I'll buy the second answer, because I can believe that, Deepinder actually had plans of getting them to do Bhangra on the IPO, and so he would do anything to do that. But Carolyn, any side that you'd want to pick?
I was going to say, I'm going to be impressed if it's number 2, but I think it is based on Manpreet's answer.
Yeah, it's number 1. It's not. So I'll tell you. So the second one is actually a message on our YouTube, on this YouTube video, and somebody says, "Did Zomato just hire Jason Derulo to do Bhangra for their IPO?" And and every time these comments would come, it would accompany with, "Give the brand manager a raise."
How much raise did you get actually?
I did not get any raise for this, but yeah. But the answer is first that, at that point of time, we were actually thinking of integrating a lot of content. I don't know if you know, but after Jalebi Baby, we incorporated at least 7-8 more songs. One is a Sidhu Moosewala's Satisfy. We are integrated there.
Yes, I've seen that.
We got to meet him before whatever happened. We are also integrated in this very famous song by King called Maan Meri Baat, which is going on.
Oh, wow.
We are integrated there.
Wow.
And there are many other songs that didn't go so well, but we have integrated at least 8-9 songs since then. We have integrated in about 6-7 Bollywood movies. And you will never you never hear a blatant Zomato being mentioned. It's a very subtle red.
Yeah. That's how it should be.
Person with red t-shirt coming with red bag and a red box coming very as a part of the story. It is always a part of the story. To answer your question, did we foresee this becoming so big? It's a no. My team member who was looking into it, he just mentioned that day, I really want to do something with Tesher. And I said, oh, by all means, let's do it. He called Tesher's team that evening. Next day, the team came up with, but we are shooting in a week. Can you commit to it by tonight? And we negotiated that very day and said yes.
Wow.
So this was closed in a day because they were going to shoot in LA a week from then. So they wanted to be sure. We wired the money next day. Why I knew that this is not an expensive bet is because Tesher's, they had already launched this song, which did well. Now they were going to do a remake of that song with Jason Derulo. For that, the lyrical video was already out. And that lyrical video was doing well on YouTube. So it was a very safe bet for me.
Correct.
The lyrical video was out. It was an earworm. It was doing well without having a video component to it, just a lyrical song. So I knew I'm going to get my ROI here. 300 million was obviously a big surprise. And it was like, I still get goosebumps every time I hear that song.
Oh, yeah. No,
As you
absolutely. Oh, wow.
You conceptualized and launched what is possibly the largest AI-generated marketing campaign, at least globally, in terms of distribution, featuring, and forgive me, I'm going to butcher his name.
Hrithik Roshan.
Okay, I was close. I was close. For Zomato, how was that idea born? How did that even come about?
Yeah, this is another thing extremely close to my heart. If you look at Facebook ads, there is something called a catalog ad, which essentially you feed in data. You put it takes data from your system, and it shows catalog ads. So it shows you a restaurant name, a dish name, which delivers to you, because Zomato's business is hyper local, right? So Facebook catalog ads actually are hyper personalized, hyper local, and these catalog ads always used to do well. So we got that insight from there. These are display ads. Why can't we personalize, hyper personalize video ads? And that's when this idea came. We were in touch with Gan, and we pitched this idea that what if we had 3 variables in a script? I'll tell you, this is the script. This is one of the script that I personally wrote along with the teammate. It did not come from an agency.
I know that. Yeah.
So that's why this is so special for me. And we internally wrote this script in just 3 days, where 15 of us brainstormed for 3 hours every day for 3 days, and we had this script by the 3rd day.
Wow.
And we obviously, and if I'm sure you've already seen this. We came up with all sort of, I'll give you an interesting one. Another version was that Hrithik Roshan is in a jump from a plane, and he's riding the parachute.
Right.
And he has the option to land anywhere, because he's right now way up, so he can maneuver and land anywhere. So he's thinking of what he wants to eat, so that he can land in that city. So if you want to eat chole bhature, so why don't you land somewhere in central Delhi, so you can eat that chole bhature.
Oh wow.
But then we came up with this anti-terrorist squad, where the insight was that craving is the occasion, and craving can happen anytime, right? So if you're in the middle of an anti-terrorist operation, and Hrithik Roshan being such a huge celebrity, and he's very muscular and he's macho, but his cravings come in between, and he orders a dish, which is because he's in X city, and he's craving that Y dish. Yeah. But that Y dish is, that Z restaurant is popular of that Y dish. So these are 3 variables. And that's what, and I also think, when you ask this question, you should also add that this is probably the largest, and also, which actually moved the business metric.
Oh, wow.
Which was not just for brand preference, but it actually moved, a metric. So that's why it's so special. While it's creative, probably it's award winning, I do not know. It's not why we did this, but actually for the love of the metric that we were chasing.
No, absolutely. I think we loved doing this with you, and in fact, the whole operational challenge that came with it. I don't think anyone had ever thought that we'd be able to serve tens of thousands of creatives on YouTube, which will be dynamically picked based on which zip code someone is watching this ad from. I mean, that whole operational challenge, I think, I remember the story where I think you were going with a different vendor to do that part. And then eventually, I think we decided that Gan will build it for you in a few days, and you don't need to take any effort or spend any money to do that part of the execution of multiple ad campaigns on an ad group.
Actually distributing it, Gan helped here. And, I think better than anybody else could have. So I owe it to Gan.
No, it is till date the most popular campaign triggered using Gan. And so I think we owe it back to you and Zomato big time. I think, I have to ask you, I think I know the answer already, but what is your favorite brand campaign you've ever worked on?
I don't think you know the answer, because it's not the Hrithik Roshan campaign.
No, what is it? Not the Tesher campaign either?
No, it's not the Tesher campaign either.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you about the third one. We shot with Bunny Anna, Allu Arjun sir. It was for Telugu markets, AP Telangana markets. And the insight was again that craving can occur anytime. So there's an interesting campaign, I'll tell you. So as you know, South movies, there's a fight sequence and everything goes in slow motion, right? So Bunny Anna, Allu Arjun, that's his nickname, Bunny Anna. So Bunny Anna is like punching a goon, and the goon is falling after that punch slowly. And because this is taking forever, because it's taking forever, he's feeling hungry and suddenly he has that craving for gongura mutton. And that's when he tells Bunny Anna to finish this so that he can go home and have his dish, because the restaurants will get closed if it gets too late. And in the middle of the fight sequence, Bunny Anna takes out his phone, orders on Zomato, puts back his phone, and by the time this goon drops on the floor, the delivery partner is already waiting.
Wow, that's a strong message.
I love Zomato, so action packed.
Yes, you have to see this. It's amazing. And interestingly, this made me an award-winning marketer, which every marketer wants to put on their LinkedIn.
Oh, wow. Oh, beautiful.
But I haven't updated LinkedIn. So yeah, but I'm an award-winning marketer now.
You should put it. You should definitely market that. I didn't know that. But did you write that one as well, or was that an agency?
No, I did not write this.
Okay.
But the moment they mentioned it, I wrote a part of it, the end copy, which what Allu Arjun says at the end of the campaign, that I personally wrote. But the campaign idea was not mine, and but it is the closest to my heart because it is something so unique. Touching an insight, touching a regional chord, and then building on it. And I'm telling you, in terms of performance, that campaign was a runaway success.
I see this passion in you while you're explaining all these campaigns, right? Like, do you miss all of this while you're in the B2B side of the world now, or do you see
immensely? I miss all of them immensely. There are a lot of good campaigns that we worked on during this time, and obviously there's a lot of nostalgia that's hitting me right now. So it's obvious, and obviously these came from heart, and like I mentioned, some of these I personally wrote. So these are like deep within big wins. So I get emotional when I talk about them.
Well, like we said, I think hopefully the future B2B catches up with B2C, and I think you're just the perfect person to do that. And so for young creatives that are just starting out, what would be your advice to them?
I think if you're going to be, and I think you should be creative. It's not required, but it's better to be creative. I'll tell you, as a kid growing up, I never skipped any commercials that used to come between the programs. I would never let my mom or dad switch the channel just because a commercial is coming. And they knew that I want to. So as a kid, I watched every commercial that I could watch. I never skipped any channel. Every movie that I would go to, I would ensure that I reach 15 minutes before so that I can watch trailers as well as other commercials that show. Many times brands would actually showcase their campaign first on big screen. So I would always ensure that I don't miss out on creatives. So I think knowing pop culture, consuming more of this content will actually build that muscle memory of writing or thinking of that next big idea. So it has to come from, I think, being creative is a muscle memory. I think it can be picked from reading few books, but it has to come from how you have grown, how you have the kind of content that you have consumed, the kind of people you grew up with. So I would say write every day, consume a lot of content, not the reels that people consume today, but actual good content, quality films, award-winning films. Look at there are a lot of great commercials that come from Southeast Asia. So brush up with them. I'm not saying copy them, but it just goes into a muscle memory. And one big idea that I would talk about is never undermine brainstorming. Even if you are the most creative person in the room, somebody will say something that will spark an idea. Somebody can bring 10% and probably you'll add 90%, or someone bring 90%, you add 10%. So here's my favorite quote: there are no bad ideas, there are only good ideas and the ideas that take you to good ideas.
Yep.
So brainstorming just adds that extra edge, which makes your campaign 10x better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So true. I think there's so much to learn there. I never realized that creativity actually comes from like muscle memory more than anything else. And so like, the more you consume and the more you've seen, I think the more creative you become. Uh,
Funny, when you said that, when other creative roles that I've been a part of, everyone would say the one quality you have to have, and you either just innately have it or you don't have it, is that you devour content. Is that that's what you were trained, like you came out ready to do. So I totally agree with that point.
Yeah.
So I have to, ask you, Chandan, like how has the journey between like, different companies been? I think you've worked at companies at different scale. What is the difference that you've noticed when you're going, when you're already IPO to, when the company is still like in the early stages of the 1 to 10 journey of sorts? Like what is the big difference? Do brands become more conscious? Or do you get less? Do you get like less flexibility to use your creative power? What changes between these two journeys?
I don't know other companies, Preet, but Zomato is in a way very special. I'm telling you, even post IPO, Zomato works like a startup, and Zomato will always work like a startup, and that's what makes it so special. Uh, and the hustle, the drive, I think Zomato is always, and that's why they said Zomato, and I'm mentioning they and not we, because I'm no longer there, but always day one or 1% done. So Zomato is always in a 1 to 10 journey. But a big difference between a 1 to 10 and 10 to 100. And if you ask me this question, maybe a year ago, the answer would have been different. The answer would have been the difference between iterating and scaling. Because, in 1 to 10, you're iterating and finding the PMF. But in 10 to 100, you're scaling one of the PMF that is there.
Yep.
But now, obviously, the focus is more on PNL. 10 to 100 is more of an optimizing journey. The growth that you have seen 1 to 10 more optimized, like optimized growth. So PNL is the focus. So the new 10 to 100 is a PNL journey.
Profitability. Yeah, I think absolutely makes sense. And like Classplus is doing some great stuff. I totally have to call that out. What do you think has been the biggest difference building like Zomato versus now Classplus? I know I've noticed that there's a lot of discussions that have happened around Zomato, but I want you to now talk about Classplus as well and tell us, like how are you building the brand for Classplus in this new setup?
So let me take a minute to explain what Classplus is. Classplus is into B2B edtech. We essentially make apps for educators so they can conduct live classes, host recorded courses, and conduct test series. And not just for academic educators, but also for content creators, because essentially all content creators eventually have to funnel down their traffic, their free traffic, into money. And so courses is the next big thing. And that was my motivation to come to edtech, and especially B2B edtech, because I believe recorded courses is going to be next big thing in content monetization. And Classplus is a leading B2B edtech player. They are very edgy, they are very creative people. You have to check the Classplus LinkedIn page, because essentially we're a B2B company. So we can't go on a public channel and spend a lot of money. So we have to really be mindful of where our customers are and reach out to them. So LinkedIn is obviously our target audience, because content creators are there, plus our future stars who will work with Classplus, who will co-create Classplus with us, are there. So that's why we are a lot of we are creative on performance ads on YouTube, on basically Google, Facebook platforms, and we do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. In terms of like I mentioned, Classplus is B2B player, so we have to like really nail who our customer is and relevant message. And I believe also talk about how generative AI is helping Classplus. So when you are a B2B company, you're creating campaigns to acquire your customers, but because it's B2B, you're also helping your customers acquire their customers. And generative AI can play a huge role for a B2B company like us and our customers. And so we already have a solution. We already use you already know about it, where our customers actually use generative AI to reach out to their customers.
True. No, absolutely. That is great. Good to see B2B companies using generative AI as well. And and as you mentioned, I think everyone should be looking at finding use cases for it. And as long as you can see business metric improvement using that, then nothing like it. Great. I think these were all the questions that we had for you today. Anything else as a parting note that you'd want to tell the audience listening to this?
Just be edgy, be creative, be topical. Don't just do it for winning awards. Do it for yourself. And when you say yourself, look at the money you're spending. I think that's very important. Sometimes brand managers go overboard in just creating a case study to win an award. I always dreamt of going to Cannes and win an award there. Whenever that day comes, I'll wait for the day. But till then, my job is to move metrics, and that's what I'll be focusing on.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you so much, Chandan, for being a part of the first episode of the brand scheme of things today.